Okay, so just jumping right into part two, picking up where we left off from yesterday. We're going to talk about the rural life in India. So, like we've already touched on, the majority of people in the Indian subcontinent are rural dwellers, live in the countryside, subsistence farming. So, 75% of people are poor farmers. 60% are illiterate, cannot read nor write. Sanitation is not that great. Safe drinking water, as we've already discussed, is a major concern due to pollution from factories and cities. Medical services are limited. Alluvial river valleys. Alluvial refers to like floodplains. Um, you see a lot of like straw roofed homes, kind of mud brick homes. Houses might be made of dried cattle dung plaster, brick, or bamboo. Population grows rapidly in rural areas to provide need for farm workers. Landless field workers make up more than 30% of India's rural population. Moving right along, village industries are limited mostly to what we call a cottage industry. So that's kind of a new vocab word for you there. In this type of cottage industry, workers make small consumer items in homes. So that's why it's called a cottage industry. A cottage is like a small home. So this is like industry out of a house, basically. Homes are small workshops. The traditional Indian handicrafts are important sources of rural employment in India. Hand woven carpets, metal tools, locks, jewelry, shoes, leather goods, weaving products, art, middleware, hand printed textiles, and pottery. Skills are used to create items have been passed down over the centuries from generation to generation. Um, Talking a little bit about some culture here of modern India. Indian men in rural areas where it was called a dhoti, which is a simple white cloth wrapped around the hips and between the legs, as you can see pictured here. Indian women wear a sari, a wide piece of cloth draped to cover the body from shoulder to ankle. So modesty is a big part of traditional Indian dress. Males dominate rural India. It is what we call a patriarchal society. This kind of goes back to the caste system, but when a woman marries, she is no longer part of her own family, but becomes a member of her husband's family. So she literally is now no longer legally part of her old family, but becomes part of her legally her husband's family. The wife shares field work with her husband and must gather drinking water and firewood for the family. She may also care for the cattle as well as raise the children, and the literacy rates obviously for rural women are very low. So again, not a lot of progressive rights for women in rural India. Urban India, a little bit different. European style dress. They read English. They work in factories or office buildings. We see a little bit different kind of lifestyle in the cities. But again, that's only 25% of the people. 75% of people in India live in rural areas. Education is available in the cities, and urban women work with men and professionals in factory jobs. So there's definitely more progressive social activism in the cities. The working middle class make up a larger and growing sector of urban society, part of India's growing consumer economy. So, again, this is the rise of new factories. Obviously, those have their own issues, but there is growing industry. Just like, kind of, for example, in the Africa unit that we had prior, poverty is a major issue for South Asia. The majority of people, rural or urban, are quite poor. Many are homeless, especially in urban areas, live in the streets, live in slums, makeshift homes built of scraps of wood, cardboard, cloth. Sometimes we'd call that a shanty town. They don't have clean water, sewage systems, or garbage collection. Um, New Delhi is located in northern India. That's the capital of India. It's very, very large city. Um, It's the largest city in the country. It's the largest industrial center in northern India. Mumbai is another large Indian city. This is actually located on its western coast. It's a major seaport, a commercial and industrial center. India is the number one movie making nation in the world, and Mumbai is sometimes called the Hollywood of India. So it's an interesting fact there about Mumbai. So this is what we would call, foreign film. So India, they make tons of movies, and a lot of that happens here in Mumbai in their studios. Calcutta. This is if you've ever heard of Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was known for helping the people of Calcutta. This is in eastern India around the Ganges River. It does have a lot of industry, but a tremendous amount of poverty, and outside of some of these industrial areas, um, there's a lot of problems with poverty and hunger and so on and so forth in Calcutta. Okay, in Chennai, the Madras, southern India's leading industrial city and port and busy shipping center. And our final slide, and wrapping up our unit on South Asia here. A little bit about its politics. After independence, India adopted a constitution, became a democracy under the leadership originally of Jawaharlal Nehru. Uh, Today, the nation is made up of a union of states held together by a strong central government and headed by a prime minister and a parliament. Sounds a lot like Great Britain, right? Well, that's because they were controlled by Great Britain for a couple hundred years.